Welcome to my talk on our research paper, Still Plenty of Fish in the Sea. My name is Anjuli Franz, and I will present a taxonomy of user-oriented phishing interventions and avenues for future research. Phishing is a cyber attack that is used to get hold of users' information or to distribute malware. To facilitate users' phishing detection, prior research has developed a number of user-oriented interventions against phishing attacks. Since those studies are fragmented across a diverse research landscape, it is challenging to gain an overview of what has already been investigated. In our article, we make an attempt to systematize prior research works. First, we aim to explore how current research tackles the aim of guiding users towards secure online behavior. Second, we intend to highlight promising avenues for future research. To do so, we conducted a systematic literature review. The search term consisted of Phish, as well as a plurality of intervention types, such as training, detection, or nudges. Our initial data collection consisted of more than 2,000 articles, and after several rounds of screening, our final sample consisted of 64 articles. We analyzed the sample with respect to several aspects, and I will now present 3 of those in detail. First, we raised the question, how can user-oriented phishing interventions be taxonomized? From our literature sample, we have derived 4 categories and 10 subcategories. We distinguish between education interventions, which aim to develop knowledge and understanding of phishing threats. Training interventions typically involve some kind of hands-on practice. For example, NoPhish is a serious game app that trains users how to recognize phishing URLs. Embedded training is based on phishing simulations and trains users right after they just fell for an attack. Third, we found awareness-raising interventions which warn users about potentially dangerous content. We found those that require user interactivity, such as torpedo, which deactivates links for several seconds, and passive warnings. Lastly, we found a variety of design interventions, such as highlighting the domain in the address bar. You can find a full description of our taxonomy in our paper. We found that several interventions employ techniques from more than one category, for example, awareness-raising interventions that also aim to educate the user. Second, we analyzed which phishing attack vector the interventions address. Several interventions address the phishing message itself, for example, by educating the user about influence techniques. More than half of all interventions focus on URL recognition. Others focus on the detection of fraudulent websites or login forms, but only very few articles address malware or mobile applications as phishing threats. Lastly, we have a look at when the intervention takes place. On the left, we find pre-decision interventions, mostly education and training, which also often address phishing in a broader sense. On the right, we can see embedded training interventions that take place post-decision and mostly focus on the email message and URL recognition. For during decision interventions, we see that many awareness-raising and design interventions have been investigated, but they have rarely been enriched with educational or training approaches. We see only very few orange and green dots here. Based on our literature review and several meta-analyses by other authors, we have identified the following areas to be of particular interest for future research. First, we have seen that many interventions require quite a lot of users' time and effort. In a real-world scenario, this time and effort will add up and cause both distraction and frustration. Future research should therefore focus on finding effective interventions while minimizing user effort and intrusiveness. Second, Rick Wash, who is also in this session, has highlighted the importance of shifting users' cognitive frame when handling email. When making sense of an email, they need to actively shift into an investigation frame to be able to apply rules and anything they might have learned beforehand to detect phishing. However, research works of the last 3 years have mostly focused on how to train users pre-decision. This focus should be shifted towards during decision interventions such as warnings or digital nudges to support users in situ. Third, getting back to digital nudges, phishing research has rarely explored their potential to date. We think that facilitating, reinforcing, or even fear appeal nudges might be promising approaches, potentially enriched with educational elements. Lastly, we have seen that malware attacks have not really received any attention in research so far. Since the action of downloading and opening an infected attachment is quite different to clicking on a link, future interventions should start to investigate user-oriented anti-malware interventions. We hope that our work can serve as a starting point for both novel and experienced researchers to gain an overview of the research area and to identify relevant paths for future works. Thank you very much. I am looking forward to the discussion, and I'd be very happy to connect with you via email or LinkedIn afterwards.